The system of education in Uganda has a structure of 7 years of primary education, 6 years of secondary education divided into 4 years of lower secondary and 2 years of upper secondary school, and post-secondary education either at the university or a tertiary institute for 3 to 5 years, depending on one's study course. This education system has existed since the early 1960s, brought in by Uganda's colonial masters, the British. But the program did not see many Ugandans go to school, opting to resist British norms at first and rather opt for their traditional African values, where children were trained by elders, girls on how to be mothers and take care of homes, and boys, providers who would take up hunting. Another reason for the education system failing was because it was expensive. Only African chiefs would afford taking their children to school, as most Ugandan families were poor. A complete turn in Uganda's primary education came in 1997 after a national policy was announced by President Museveni to provide free primary education for underprivileged children. This was the genesis of universal primary education open to all children in Uganda. It was a dream come true for most poor parents in Uganda. In record time, numbers in universal primary education schools soared. Enrollment increased from only 2 million pupils receiving primary education in 1986 to over 6 million pupils in 1997. By 1999, the figures had tripled. Most of all, girl child education increased, and so did Uganda's literacy levels. But with the beauty of UPE came a myriad of issues, the main one being poor quality schooling, attributed to the rapid increase in student enrollment, with limited learning materials available, such as furniture, books, few or no latrines, beds, and less motivated teachers to support good quality education for the students. This in turn bred more problems such as increased school dropout, early marriages, child labor in form of herding cattle, farming, and other forms of generating income. The 2014 UN Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization UNESCO report estimated that 68% of children in Uganda who enroll in primary school were likely to drop out before finishing the prescribed 7 years. The poorer regions, northern and eastern Uganda, experience higher dropout rates. Western and central regions are regarded as better off. The report further noted that Uganda ranks 11th worldwide with the highest number of school dropouts, with figures at 700,000 children out of school, which is about 29% of the school-going population. Nankoma Primary School in Mayuge is one of the government schools implementing the Universal Primary Education Scheme. The head teacher says around 250 of their pupils did not come back this year, and they cannot tell where they are. To her, running the school is not a bed of roses. Other challenges in the government schools are lack of awareness among parents and teacher absenteeism. Teachers are among the lowest paid public servants in Uganda, with primary school teachers today earning 279,145 shillings, up from the old salary of 227,240 shillings, after receiving a 50,000 increment from the Ministry of Education in 2014. This is just but one of ways of addressing issues in Uganda's primary education system.
As a government, we are also coming up with measures to address this. Of course, with the retraining, with the we are making the teaching profession very attractive. Now, we have increased the salaries of the teachers. We are building houses for teachers. We are making the environment of where the teacher operates from more attractive than it has been.
However, the biggest setback of UPE remains poverty, given that UPE is not entirely free, contrary to the general perception that parents are not supposed to pay for anything. An estimated 30% of girls leave school when they start their periods, often because of a lack of sanitary pads. For poorer parents, especially in rural Uganda, the cost of pens, exercise books, and clothing is beyond their reach. In practice, they still have to buy scholastic materials including pens, exercise books, clothing, and even bricks for classroom construction. They also have to provide or buy lunch for their children. For poorer parents, especially in rural Uganda, who live on about $1 a day, the cost is beyond reach. During the 2015 Cabinet Ministers' Retreat, President Museveni expressed his rage over the rate at which pupils were leaving school even when the country spent 900 billion Uganda shillings annually on the UPE scheme, tasking Cabinet to find answers on improving educational services. But for families that can ably support their children's education, there's private education, which boasts of ably addressing challenges in UPE schools and having more benefits, such as offering students sumptuous meals, extracurricular activities, transportation to and from school, modern boarding facilities, well-stocked laboratories and libraries, computer lessons, sporting activities, adequate and well-motivated teachers, with most of these services only as much as dreams in government-owned schools. 56% of Uganda's teachers are in private schools. Of the 169,503 primary schools in Uganda, 23.5% of these are private. Government has shared ownership of about 60% of private schools. Modern methods of learning have risen in the 2000s, such as the rise of daycare centers for pre-primary learning and some families opting for homeschooling. But these services do not come cheap.
If a school charges, say, in the range of 700, 800, I believe that one can be manageable. But some go so mad as to go beyond $1 million plus. No, I think some of them do it excessively.
Majority parents prefer digging deep into their pockets to the cheap UPE because of a promise of better quality education. More privileged Ugandan parents opt for international schools for their children as compared to private-owned Ugandan schools. The primary school curriculum was reviewed by the National Curriculum Development Center in 2015, but only time will tell whether the new curriculum will better Uganda's education quality or not. Report by Sarah Kisache for Urban TV.